This player is a medium to fast bowler. He's 18 years of age. In terms of his training history, he's got a training history of 1.5 to 2 years. He has no prior experience in the art of Olympic lifting. Never really attempted it before. And we are currently in the first block or first period of the off-season program. This player is coming off the back of a lumbar stress fracture as of 12 to 13 weeks prior to this video being recorded. As you can see with this player, as with every academy player, we start with a ground-based mobility segment, which incorporates general mobility, individual add-ons for each individual player, squat patterning, some activation work, and really get them prepped, ready to go into their initial bar work, bar warm-ups, and then into their strength lift and/or, in this case, power clean. As with a lot of our warm-up segments, we want to work on the general aspects of warming up and prepping the tissue and prepping the soft tissue before we then move into specific activation and preparation movements. So this player works through ground-based work, some activation with the mini bands to get the hips and external rotators of the hip firing, before then working through some lunge patterns, and then into this squat pattern here, which is basically designed to prepare the athlete for the positions they'll find themselves in the actual session. So prior to any power clean movement being undertaken, we want to make sure the fundamentals of the power clean are ingrained. So the front squat is a movement we go to with this particular player, primarily due to his injury history, but also as a means to progress into the power clean or Olympic lifting movement in the future. He starts with the bar, moves on to 60% of his working weight, and then we take him up to a challenging, I think 85% in this case, for a set of 3. And this would always be the case before going into the Olympic lifting type, positional type work for the power clean. Similarly with these RDL, with the hinging movement, we want to make sure you can effectively load the posterior chain through hamstrings and glutes, and also to make sure you can maintain his structure, maintain his shape through the thoracic and lumbar region. If we break down the power clean movement, in the start position, the feet will be hip width apart, the weight will be in the mid-foot, the hips will be slightly higher than the knees, a lordotic curve will be evident, the shoulders will be pinned back with the chest up, the head will be neutral and looking forward, the shoulders will be over the bar, the arms will be straight, the bar will be directly above the bottom of the big toe, and the hook grip will be adopted. When the start position is correct, the first pull can be initiated. The weight starts in the mid-foot and gradually moves towards the heel. The knees will begin to extend as the lifter and bar rise simultaneously. The angle of the torso will remain constant to the ground. The shoulders will remain in front of the bar. The lordotic curve will be maintained. The head will be neutral still. And the bar will move slow and controlled, moving back and up at a constantly increasing speed. The bar will finish just above the knee. During the transition period, the feet will remain flat with the weight in the mid-foot. There will be a rebending of the knees as they pass in front of the bar. The torso will simultaneously move back and up to a more upright position. The shoulders directly above the bar. The head is still neutral. The bar continues to move vertically and stays close to the quads and thighs. End of transition, the bar is towards the upper thigh / crease of the hip. Second pull will see the athlete pushing as hard as they can through the midfoot, causing triple extension of the hip, knee and ankle. There will be a simultaneous shrug of the shoulders, where the hip will meet the bar in accordance with the violent shrug from the shoulders. The bar moves up in front of the body at its fastest rate, and the weight is now towards the front of the foot with the head still neutral. To initiate the catch, the feet slide to a catch position, which in this case is the quarter squat position. At the same time, the athlete is pulling themselves underneath the bar, landing on a flat foot, with the hips and knees flexing simultaneously. The landing in the front squat position, or the front quarter squat position, will signify the elbows having rotated underneath the bar. The torso is upright. The lordotic curve is still evident. The elbows stay high, and the bar is positioned across the front of the delts, or the anterior deltoids, with the head still remaining in a nice neutral position as the athlete receives the bar. Initially, as our start point, we look to introduce the athlete to the 3 or 4, in this case, key positions, which were the obviously start position, mid thigh, so our power position, RDL position, so just below the knee, and then obviously the ground position, so from the floor getting in the correct position. We're trying to teach the knees coming backwards whilst the torso and the body position is maintained. And this was our initial start point with this particular athlete. As you can see, just getting him in the start position was a bit of a struggle. Nevertheless, what I'd like to see them more of was the head up and chest forward more. However, the focus for this particular segment was on the movements themselves, to try and hit the correct positions and get a feeling of what the correct positions felt like.
Yeah, and then hard again. Getting them down to the floor. There we go. Knees back, bar closer there. Transition, power position. Yeah. Stand up. Good, one more. Try and get.
So as you can see, the first pull aspect was a bit of a problem for this particular player. The knees were shooting back too early, so I sought to teach him the first pull, and trying to break that movement down really for him as much as possible.
Hips high, very important. From there, that's literally head up, chest up, knees back. Look at my body position there. As I raise up, everything goes together. Knees go back, body travels up at the same way. So pick the bar up safely first. Good, right.
This was his second attempt at the positional work we were trying to address. Overall a little bit better. First pull was a little bit better, but still struggling to get a feel of where that start position was, where that how that first pull should feel in terms of that simultaneous rise of the body alongside the knees coming back at the similar sort of rate. After this introduction, we moved on to a little bit of pull to catch, just to see what it was like from a hang sort of position, from a mid-thigh position. Due to these sessions only being an introductory session, if I was to incorporate Olympic lift into this particular player's program, I think I would adopt the hang position as a means to start him off, primarily due to the position he hits and the sort of rapid extension he can get from a hang position as opposed to lifting from the floor. In addition to that, the co-contractions and coordination aspect of Olympic lifting may also benefit this young person in terms of his physical development, whilst also taking into account the ball in action, which is that of a proximal to distal action, similar to that of the Olympic lifting. Therefore, the transfer from the Olympic lifting type movements, in this case the power clean, may be of benefit to this baller moving forward in his career.
Nice, good, perfect. Shoulder more right there, hold. Back up. Good, one more. So, power position. RDL. Down to the floor. Good. Knees. One more. Just try and slow down the first portion of the ground. It's slower. Yeah. Through. One more. Last one. Make sure everything goes together on the first pull. Don't let the knees kick back too early.
So we then attempted to add layers to what we've learnt in the previous session. So this is the second session of the power clean. So we tried to take it from just below the knee this time. See how he coped with that. So as you can see, he struggled quite a lot in terms of bypassing the knee and then getting to that power position before then working through that second pull. So again, reiterating what I said before, if I was to incorporate this into his program, I would most certainly look to start him off from the hang position and get some adaptation, get some improvements via that.
Start position, okay. Start at the bottom of the big toe, like the deadlift position. Okay. Pull yourself down, hips higher than knees have to be. To work on from there, shoulders in front of the bar, knees back, power position, catch.
We then look to progress to working from the floor, getting to see how he'll cope with this, because we don't know how he'd respond to this, as he's never done this before. So we just trial and error, working through a trial and error process, testing the water a little bit, and just seeing what you can cope with relatively light load.
Just up, so you keep back nice and tight while you lift. That's very tight. Yes. Power. Go. Well, just give it a bit now. Try and be a bit more distinct with your position. So from that position there, knees track a bit further forward. So you're going to jump and go straight into it. So tip yourself forward on. Yeah. Go. Yeah. One more. Exactly the same thing. There's no pause midway.
For the final instalment of testing this player and see what he can cope with in terms of the power clean, we showed him, taught him, allowed him to experiment with the power clean in its fullest form, like its truest form, so from the floor right the way up to the shoulders. Once again, old habits came into play in terms of the player started to pull more with the arms, the knees didn't go back enough. He started to use momentum to get the bar up to his shoulders. The knees shoot back too early. Nevertheless, we still persisted with this movement and gave him the opportunity to once again trial and error and try and work things out and self-regulate, self-organize himself to be able to achieve a power clean movement.
Load the hamstrings, round, up. The second portion, the fast portion, not the first portion. Yeah. Slow. Yes! Right, one more.
One big thing that did make a big difference to this player's power clean performance was the fact that initially his first pull was far too fast. However, having cued him, having mentioned it to him, having himself slowed that first pull portion down, that allowed him to execute the top half of the movement a little bit more effectively.
This part of power position is literally extend. You're extending and shrugging your shoulders. Everything goes back. This movement, this. Arms like spring. Get in the bottom position. And give your arms a bit of a shake. That's how loose it should be right the way through. Just the shoulders being set to keep bring the bar back to you. Not bad, get in there. Still, think about extending. Slow it down a little bit more. First portion a little bit slower. Still a bit slow, that first portion. Tighter. Arm bar a bit closer. There. Down here. Pretty good pause. What do you feel about that last one? What do you do too much of?
Pull.
Yeah.
I want to pull like that to get up.
After a couple more sets, trialing the full movement, the player got to a stage whereby he was able to relatively accurately achieve the technical model with only minor deficiencies in technique and catch position.